How's it going, boys? Yeah, your eyes aren't deceiving you. I had a name change. Hope you guys like it. In today's video, we're going to be looking at 5 maps that I think had a significant impact in zombies and really took zombies to a whole new level. Even if some of the changes were minor, some of them have stood the test of time and were built up upon. If you guys think I left the map out, feel free to leave it in the comments below and make sure to subscribe to stay up to date. Now, without wasting any more time, let's get right to it. Kicking off the list at number 5, we have Duris. I mean, you just gotta appreciate what the map did as it pretty much completed the blueprint for zombies. Now this map didn't do a whole lot extra compared to other maps in World at War, but the little things it did do were huge. For starters, this was the first map to introduce Pack-a-Punch, which in short, made your weapon about twice as strong, give or take. And if it didn't, it at least had a stat boost at the very least. Duris was also the first map to introduce fast travel in the form of a teleporter. And before y'all say it, I know Shinonuma had its own version of fast travel, but let's be real, nobody uses it. In order to teleport though, you have to link all 3 teleporters to spawn, which also opens up Pack-a-Punch at the same time. It is a bit pricey at 1500 points per teleport though, which isn't a big issue on high rounds, and if you really need a Pack-a-Punch, it definitely saves you some time. Duris was also the first map to have its own little Easter egg. Now it isn't a mainline Easter egg, but it's something at the very least. We've all done it, so I'll just give you guys a brief explanation. You Pack-a-Punch a weapon, shoot a button outside a spawn, Samantha summons a teddy bear, and you have to play hide and seek. And your reward is nothing, but it's cool to do at least. Lastly, this map removed the zombie per round cap, which is normally 24 zombies per round on World at War, meaning as the rounds go on, the more zombies will spawn. Not a whole lot done, but the few things that were done in Duris impacted the future of zombies significantly. Rolling in on number 4, we have Ascension. Whether you love it or hate it, you can't deny this map has some pretty cool features. Like Duris, it didn't do a whole lot, but the things it did do eventually launched zombies into the mainstream. Now sadly, I can't give footage for this because I have no friends to do it with, but Ascension was the first map to introduce a main story Easter egg. Again, can't get the footage, so let me give you guys a quick rundown on how to do it. In short, grab a Gersh device from the box, throw it near the generator by Apocxlpse and activate the first node by the Stamina Up Lunar Lander. Then wait for a monkey round and have each player guard a perk besides Quick Revive, and simultaneously press the buttons near each machine. Once completed, go to Pack-a-Punch and stand in front of the clock for 2 minutes. Once done, a nuke spawns ending the round. Next you spell Luna by using the Lunar Landers in a specific order. Then finally head over to the Casimir by the Claymore Lunar Lander and throw a Gersh and proceed to spam ray guns, the Thunder Gun, and dolls. And then boom, Easter egg done. Enjoy a death machine. Not the most exciting Easter egg, but it is the first one to exist within the main story, and the Easter eggs just get crazier as the years go by. Another thing Ascension added was a different zombie boss type, that being the monkeys. I don't even want to go into them though, as thinking of them makes me want to smash my keyboard to bits. On a smaller note, continuing the perk trend, Ascension added new perks, that being Apocxlpse, which makes big boom and you not take explosive damage. It also added stamina, which increases sprint speed by 7%, which seems like nothing, but it does make a difference, and it also makes you run for a longer period of time. It also added a different melee weapon, that being the sickle. It doesn't do any extra damage, but it's cool. Lastly, Ascension gave monkeys a break and gave us 2 very unique tacticals that you can get in the box. The first one we got is the Gersh device, which to this day I think is still the most OP tactical. And for shits and giggles, we got dolls. I'm not even gonna try to pronounce them, so I'll just put it here on the screen. Anyway, a very iconic map that bumps zombies into a whole new level moving forward. At number 3, we have the all-time classic, Mob of the Dead. This placement took a lot of thinking as there were a few candidates that could have taken the spot, but ultimately Mob has some pretty innovative changes that I had to put it in here. And I think the most important thing Mob did was adding in a beatable Easter egg. I'm not going to go into all the specifics because it's a whole process, but basically at the end of the Easter egg you're up against Weasel. If you kill Weasel, the cycle ends, but if you lose, the cycle continues. Because as we know, the mob cast is stuck in a loop between life and death. That on its own has never been done up until that point, and they nailed it right off the bat. Another huge change was the option to have different variants of the wonder weapon, that being the Blundergat. You could either upgrade it via Pack-a-Punch, or upgrade it with the Acid Kit giving you the Acid Gat, and from there you could Pack-a-Punch it giving you the Vitriolic Withering. Mob also introduced the first ever throwable melee weapon, that being the Hell's Retriever, which can then be upgraded to the Hell's Redeemer. Another thing Mob did was adding the Afterlife, which can be used via down or shocking, which essentially allows you to get parts and stuff in places you normally wouldn't be able to go into. Meaning if you go down, you can actually be useful. On a smaller note, Mob was the first map to ever revamp the mystery box, going from the traditional box to a more hellish vibe, as well as adding a new perk, that being Electric Cherry, which creates an electric force field when reloading, and the damage only becomes higher the less ammo you have before reloading. This is truly a one-of-a-kind map that added so much moving forward, as we see a form of Afterlife in the form of Beast Mode. Coming in at number 2, we have my favorite map of all time, Verrückt. No, wait, hold on. Let me explain. Now, when people think of innovation in World at War, the first map that usually comes to mind is instantly Derice. But most people tend to overlook how much Varug did with implementing many staples that we'd grow to love. For starters, this was a map that introduced the perk system, that being Juggernog, which on Varug and Shinonuma doesn't actually increase your health, it just regens your health by 40 every half a second. Speed Cola, which increases your reload speed by 50%. Double Tap, increasing your fire rate by 33%, which honestly is a scam because double tap, you think that double tap means yeah, you know what I'm saying. And lastly, Quick Revive, which cuts revive time in half, but sadly it's useless on solo. Aside from perks, this is also the map that introduced the electric trap and just traps in general, which if you didn't know are called electroshock defenses. The more you know. Varug is also the first map to include its very own Easter egg song, which can be activated by flushing this toilet 3 times. A thing I completely overlooked for some reason is that if you play with more than one person, you have a chance of spawning in a different room, which I think is pretty unique and adds a sense of anxiety as you won't be able to see your buddy until the power's on. Speaking of power, Varug is also the first map to introduce power. Now it's pretty easy to get, but it's the first map to do so nonetheless. Now onto the smaller details. Varug featured the very first movable box, which honestly I hate in certain maps, but it works here as the patterns are very predictable. This one's a very small detail that everybody misses, and it's that on Varug, the zombies will hit through the barriers, which I never noticed they didn't do that in Noct. It might seem crazy putting Varug this high on the list, or on the list at all, but this map did so much for the future of zombies that I just had to put it up here. Before we go on to number 1, I just gotta give a quick honorable mention to Transit. It was either this map or Mob of the Dead, and honestly, you could put either Mob or Transit at number 3, and I feel bad for leaving it out as it did add a lot to zombies such as buildables and BO2. They weren't the best, but they've been refined as the years and games go on, as well as being able to store weapons and money for future games, but unfortunately, we didn't get to see a lot of that in future games. It also added perma perks, which were cool, but again, they just weren't used after BO2, which is why I ultimately had to leave Transit out the list. With that out of the way, at number 1 on today's list, we have Shadows of Evil. Man, what a map this was. This map single-handedly changed the way Easter eggs play out going forward, and it's actually for the better. Because on top of getting a very good Easter egg, we also get the very first boss fight of the franchise. And man, it's an epic one that had us all on our toes. I know we've all at least once had the whole team go down and you're the last one standing, and the clutch feeling of actually pulling it off was just amazing. Now, as I have no friends to do this with, I sadly can't show the footage. So if you're curious on how to do the Easter egg, look up a guide as me explaining it will double the length of the video. And I think I've yapped enough as it is. Like, have you seen the length of my videos? I'm setting records here. Shadows also added the first specialist weapon, that being the Apocxlpse sword, which is just straight up broken in my opinion. Like, I swear, you can use this thing forever and it'll always just be good. Getting the sword is quite simple. All it takes is going into beast mode where the eggs are and spark certain symbols, which I definitely knew. Then grab an egg and feed it in 4 different locations, and then boom, sword. And holy Christ, after so long, we finally get a good perk in the form of Widow's Wine, which is sadly the only perk we get in BO3, but it's overpowered, so I guess we can give them a pass for that one. Essentially, when hit, spiderwebs explode, making the zombies either slow down or fully get stuck in place, as well as replacing your standard grenades with Widow's grenades, which have the same effect as the perk itself. Treyarch was really deep in their bag when they made Shadows of Evil. I don't think anyone thought zombies could be taken to such a high level, especially after Origins, which I personally hate, but can't deny it was pretty insane. That's gonna do it for today's video, boys. Sorry about the lengthy upload times, but I hope y'all enjoyed. Also, if you guys like the honorable mentions, feel free to leave it in the comments below. And if you agreed or disagreed with the maps, also feel free to leave it in the comments below. If you're new here and want to see more, my most recent video is right there on the left, so feel free to check that one out. Make sure to subscribe to stay updated, and I'll see you all in the next one. Bam!